All right, stand by. Roll sound.
Speed.
Roll camera.
Speeding.
Slate.
Scene one, take one. Mark.
And action.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Hey, I just want to tell you, welcome to Burnie's Applebox. Thanks for tuning in. I'm really, really excited about the show today, and I'll tell you why. I've got Bill Holshevnikoff here with me. And if anybody was my mentor in this business, it was Bill Holshevnikoff. I'll tell you very quickly, I was just starting out. I had a little Astro van about half filled with gear. I could probably do a good interview. That was about it. And after getting that van and I had all my equipment, I landed a job. Somebody gave me an 8-day job up in Half Moon Bay. And of course, I had to give it all away just to get the job, but that was okay. I got up there and I met the DP, who I was kind of nervous about meeting, had never worked with him before. And it was Bill Holshevnikoff. And fate intervened in that day because I could not have been with a better DP, a more knowledgeable person, and a better teacher in the industry than Bill. And of course, we went through, an 8-day death march up there, 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day. We were hacking through it. And from that point on, Bill and I were, and still are today, best friends. And Bill hired me as his gaffer for years and years whenever he was on the road. We had a wonderful time, and we're still great friends today. So it is with that I welcome Mr. Bill Holshevnikoff. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for showing up today.
That's a memory I think I kind of tried to wipe from my
here
brain.
Here it comes. I was wondering how
pain.
long it took. I think we're under 5 seconds before the insults start.
No, nothing about you. Just the pain of that shoot. That was just such a brutal shoot. And you were such a trooper. That I can't even, it's just a crazy memory.
And that, Bill, if you recall, we'll just talk about this for a second, but as you recall, that was one of the first HD cameras that we shot on. Sony's new HD camera. I can't remember the model of it. But it was ironic because all of it was new technology. And do you remember that piece of equipment that we had that would transfer the image over to the monitor? And if you recall, there was something, whenever you panned the camera, there was a late effect on the monitor.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if that was going to tape or if it was going just on the monitor. That ate up 5 hours of the first day, I think, trying to get that fixed.
Yeah, we started in the hole. It was ugly.
We started in the hole, and it only got worse from them. But sincerely, Bill, you, and I can attest to this, and Bill knows that I don't say nice things about him unless it's absolutely 100% true.
Or just you don't.
Or just I don't. That is true, Bill. Yeah. You can tell we are very good friends. We have been friends for years, and we give each other a hard time every time we see each other. But Bill is one of the premier teachers of lighting in our industry. He is a real master. Anybody who has the chance to take Bill Holshevnikoff's class is getting real benefit for their dollar, because you walk out of that. I remember the first time I was in your class, and we had known each other for 3 years, worked together for 3 years. And I went to one of your classes, and I was blown away. It was really a truly awesome experience. And you walk out of there knowing and understanding so much more than I remember that, because I had been in the business for over 10 years. And I remember walking and saying, I really connected all the dots today. That's how I felt about it.
Well, that class is 25 years of refining. And I finally got to a point where I felt like I was connecting the dots for people, regardless of experience level, because there were guys that were working for CBS in Chicago, and I would get them in my workshop, and they'd, kind of give me this look, like what the heck are you going to teach me? And they'd sit there, and at the end of the class, they're coming up asking for autographs and saying, I really didn't understand what I was doing. And I think that's how, and this well, that's how a lot of people learn. They just watch other people work, and then they do what that person did, but they don't know why they did it. And because of the way I was trained with Dean Collins, et cetera, back in the day, that wasn't an excuse. You couldn't, that answer didn't fly. So you had to understand why, down to almost a molecular level of light, exactly what we were doing and why, and shooting on film, 8x10 and Hasselblad and all the chrome, no negatives, all chromes. So if it was off a quarter stop, you saw it. So I got to learn from a master, and that really kind of drilled a lot of fundamentals into my brain that changed the way I worked from that point on, whether it was still or moving image.
Well, that's a great segue. Tell me about you starting out. And I know you were in San Diego, and I know Dean Collins was probably the defining relationship in your life as a young DP. But give us that story a little bit.
Well, I started out about 10 or 12 years old shooting stills, self-taught. And I was joking with somebody this morning, actually Dave Basilto from Iographer. He and I talked this morning, and he's going to call you. He wants you on his show.
Oh, awesome.
So, hey, I'm already working for you.
You see, I know you got paid for that plug too, by the way, but that's okay, bro. That's okay.
Big
Thank
money
you for your time.
I said, he's a nice man. Just be sweet to him. I was shooting stills, actually vacation pictures for my family with my dad's camera. And we got rolls of film back, and there was no pictures of anybody in the family. It was all landscapes and weird images. And I was thrilled. I was thrilled they came out. But my parents were a little pissed that we had no vacation pictures, so they gave me my own camera after that, and that's kind of started the whole thing. So I started in still, working at a still photography store, shot the yearbook pictures, shot local paper pictures, and started shooting NFL games and stuff like that. And it really wasn't what I wanted to do as much as I like still photography. And so I went to San Diego State, went through their film and television thing, and got out and started doing ESPN shows and all these different things, more sports related. That was kind of a world I was working in to start, and then doing a lot of corporate marketing pieces for real estate, giant real estate projects, et cetera. And then I met Dean via my buddy Spencer. And
Spencer introduced you to him. I know Spencer. I didn't realize
he was scoring a commercial for the chocolate fair in San Diego, and Dean was shooting the image, and everybody was meeting to talk about it. And he said, man, my buddy Bill really needs to meet you. And that opened that door. So then Dean and I spent years and years together making behind the scenes videos, basically explaining high-end principles of still photography, cars, models, everything. And the series we did called Fine Light Videos, which I wrote and directed and did the voiceover and shot. And you know how it is when
Dean was 25. A smart man. He knew it. He knew a young kid like you was going to make it happen, and
he could abuse me.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? That does bring up a point. Now I want to continue on the story, but we've talked about this. Just like me meeting you for myself, and what good that did me. Fate. You can never underestimate the chance of meeting someone. You can never underestimate making that connection. Not everyone is 100%, but just like you with Dean, just like myself with you, that is so important to not sit back in your comfort zone and get out there and meet people.
Well, yeah, I totally agree, Bernie. When I met Dean, I walked in and he was teaching National Geographic photographers how to light. And they were asking for his autograph after the workshop. And I thought, okay, well, who the hell is this guy then? If all the Nat Geo guys are up there asking for his autograph. And he was very open. He was such a funny and friendly guy. And he was just giving me information from the moment we met. He was handing me educational things and said, hey, check this out, check that out, go home with it, I don't care. And I thought, who the heck is this guy? And I went home and studied the information. And then I chased him down relentlessly for months. Wow. And just kept showing up and kept showing up and kept showing up. So we need to do something. So it was one of those chance meetings, but I definitely did not let it fly by. I made a point of being at his studio all the time until finally something broke. And he said, well, let's do these behind the scenes things. And then Spencer and Lee and we jumped in and started producing those for years with him. And Dean and I became very close because he's sadly no longer with us, but he was a genius in a lot of ways, but he he didn't have the right brain wiring to logically lay some things out. So he needed help with a lot of that part of it. And so I jumped in, and it forced me to learn what he was teaching down to a level that I didn't even know existed, down to the physics of light. And we discussed it hours on end, day after day after day for years. And so that, when I saw it on still, I started playing with a video camera doing the same things and said, well, light is light. It really doesn't matter. It's just about continuous light or strobe and how much light. And that sent me on my journey. And it's definitely shaped the way I work. I mean, I try to be a bit of a chameleon depending on the project, but I'm always looking, as you know, when we work together, we look at something and then figure out, okay, it's reflective or not. And how do we shape the light? What source should we use? How can we do this with a couple of lights so we aren't putting everything out of the truck? And just thinking smart so we can get through those insane days on the resorts we used to do.
So, you know, that is a very good point, because I think that's one of the lessons I learned from you. It doesn't take much, and less is more. You know, and that is, Bill and I used to do these resorts all over I guess the world. You went around the world. I didn't go around the world, but we do them in Hawaii. We do them in Palm Springs. We did some up in Sonoma, where you're from. You said you did Florida. I didn't go out there myself, but we would do. I mean, I probably did. I don't think this is any exaggeration. Easily 75, possibly 100 with you.
I don't know.
You know
we
that,
did.
and we would do the restaurant. We would do the food in the restaurant. We would do the spa. We would do the hotel room. We would do the outside. We would do the exterior gardens, the architectural. You know,
Grand
that
lobby.
in itself, the lobby was a huge shot. And you never had enough. We had my van. That's what we had. So we never had enough to really actually go in there and nail it the way we wanted to. But you pulled it off every single time. And that was the real lesson that I learned, is that you walk in, you look at the environment, you assess what you have, you assess what you need, and then you just make those little compromises along the way to get the best shot you can, you know.
And stay as on schedule as you can.
Well, that was the other thing that I think that I know I have a lot of pride of, and those days too, Bill, and I think you'll know this. I mean, we're both still working. We both still got a career. But I look at those days, because we had a few laughs back in the day.
Just a few.
You know, those were some of the best times of my career. That was really some of the funnest stuff I think I ever did, and probably ever will do. You know, well, that's when it was just about. What's that?
Yeah, I'm saying the resort work is as hard as you'll ever work, because it's the goldfish bowl thing, where you're outside looking in, because all these people are sitting around spending ridiculous amounts of money to have cocktails and sit by the pool and lounge around, and yet we're schlepping gear and sweating and trying to stay invisible in their world so we don't upset anybody and make gorgeous pictures the whole time. It was really crazy, but at least we were staying at a Ritz or a Four Seasons or a Marriott resort.
We stayed. I mean, I stayed in hotels. Yeah, that were unbelievable. I mean, they were three times my day.
They won't even let you back in those now.
No, they won't. Nor could I afford to go to them. That's amazing. So now, Dean, let me ask you a question, because I think this is important. I know you've shared with me what some of Dean's limitations were. Are you comfortable with talking about any of those?
Yeah, I mean, to a point. He wasn't a good. He wasn't good with the written language. Yep. And he was kind of, I mean, this is he's so much above this, but almost an idiot savant, in that he wasn't finishing sentences when he would speak live and things, but he was so entertaining. It was like watching a comic show, like a live comedian, and you were learning incredible stuff while you went. But when I started digging in on all of his information, what I found is that there were gaps and misinformation, and things were tagged incorrectly. And so we started really breaking stuff down. And that's what gave me the education, is it forced me to break everything he had done down, which I just took as gold. And then I'd start reading it going, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense with that. And so then for lack of a better term, I started calling him on stuff, and he'd go, "Oh, you're right. I never really thought about it." And then it just got deeper and deeper and deeper. So it was amazing. I mean, I just feel so lucky. And he was just a gem of a guy. Oh my God, he was so fun to work with.
Yeah, everybody
way more fun than you.
Well, needless to say, Bill. But everybody who that I have met people that knew Dean outside of you. I mean, they talk about him just like you do, glowing stuff.
It was a remarkable experience.
So you then you were working San Diego, and now you've switched over to video, right? You were pretty much doing all video, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What year was that? What year was that?
Early 80s.
Early 80s. Okay.
Early 80s, and then I met Dean, I think, in 85, and we worked for about 5, 6, 7 years together. And I was going up to LA a lot for work and things, and that was just such a fun commute. And I just kind of felt like I had offers to do soap operas in LA and all kinds of different things, and I just didn't want to do that kind of work day in, day out. Everything I liked having different styles of work and different kind of jobs coming in all the time. So I just decided to stay a lone wolf for all these years, and it's been a remarkable journey. It's definitely taken me to some interesting places around the globe and some interesting jobs for sure. Yeah,
and you have taught, I know, all over the world. I mean, you've been China, Russia, Georgia, all through South America, Central America, Japan.
I was in China again a couple months ago, and they reminded me that my first trips there were 20 years ago.
Unbelievable.
So I know I've been teaching in China for 20 years. That's a little freaky.
Yeah. I see it on your face, actually. So it looks like you have. Anyway.
The chow mein.
That's it. So what is now, like, you went to say, I know you moved up to Central California, and this is something I really want to sort of talk to you about and understand, because here you were in San Diego, you were getting offers for soap operas and different things in Los Angeles. You literally probably moved out of the busiest part of the world for what you do, right? And moved up there. What was your thought process there, and how did it play out? What are the pros and the cons from going to a different location?
So much of I agree with you on all that. And I had 2 little ones, married and had 2 little ones, and all the family was up in Northern California from both sides of my wife and I. So we needed help with 2 little ones. We needed grandmas and uncles and aunts, and we wanted them to know their cousins, et cetera. So that was a big part of it.
Okay.
And the other part is I grew up in a town called Novato. I live in Sonoma now, but I grew up 20 minutes from here in Novato, and it's Davy Crockett, man. I was running around in the hills catching snakes and, come back after dark, and there was just nothing around except for wilderness. And that's how I wanted my kids to grow up. And I knew that'd be a lot tougher down there. So that was a big part of the other reason. And at that time, most of my most interesting work was coming from me hopping on a plane flying somewhere. So I thought, well, I could live in the friggin' wine country, go to the airport, still to get the same gig, and come back to the wine country on the weekends and raise my kids out where they can climb trees and run around and there's no cars. And so that was a big part of a lot of those decisions.
That's awesome. Bill, we're going to take a break right now, do a couple of commercials and stuff, but stand by and we'll be right back. Burnie's Applebox. See you then. Hi, I'm Burnie. I own Burnie's Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. Are we out? We pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Burnie's Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No. We present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Burnie's Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545, and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Onset University is the place where you'll learn how to build your business. On our site, you'll find hours of information that you can use immediately. No matter where you're at in your career, you can use these strategies to grow your business. Also, I'll show you how to use social media to boost your business in a big way. What I teach are real-world, practical solutions to make you successful. Join our community at Onset University.
Burnie's workshop is fantastic. Burnie's workshop is awesome. Burnie's workshop is insightful.
Burnie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Burnie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories, and I would recommend this to anyone. Not only someone like me who's starting day one, but I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot. That's something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lightings. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who just brand into the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of this stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Burnie's a great guy. Burnie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
Hey everybody,
those are really good.
Back. Welcome back. Yeah, how you doing? All right, we're here with Bill Holshevnikoff today, one of my mentors and favorite people, DP, teacher. List is long. The list is long. Bill's traveled all over the world, and I want to get into your newsroom business too, which I find fascinating. And I've done a newsroom with Bill. We did 6 days up in Sacramento. And
that's right. That's still exactly the same too.
Is it really? Is it?
Yeah.
That was the closest to a groundhog experience that I've ever had in my life. It was usually I'm going from one set to another over the course of a week. This was going into a newsroom, and we started it with it stripped. There was nothing on the grid, I don't believe. I think it was clean all the way.
It was brand new everything.
Brand new everything. And how many sets did they have in there? How many sets? I think it was 7 or 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think 7.
7?
6 or 7 sets. 6 or 7 sets. Yeah, that's still. It's called Good Day Sacramento. It's still still kicking it, man.
Okay,
they're still happy.
And we had translucent backs and stuff we had to light. And we had to, I think 7 different sets that we had to light for different things, and it was fascinating. And Bill, who lights newsrooms all over the world, correct?
Yeah, and it's a really different kind of work than single camera work on location. Obviously, it's a very different approach.
Yeah, it was fascinating to watch how he had it mapped out, and I had a very good perspective because I was the only guy up in the lift. I want you to know that Bill was down there designing lighting.
Cup of coffee.
Yeah, a cup of coffee. That's what really got me, Bill, was the coffee. But, you know, it was, I'm telling you, a fascinating process. I wished I would have been able to work with you more on that side of the business at the time, but it wasn't. But all of those factors involved. Talk a little about how you approach a newsroom. When somebody calls you to light a newsroom, what are you taking in at the first look?
Well, it's changed a lot over the last 20, 30 years. I think the very first newsroom I did was Channel 10 in San Diego, and they wanted a different look. They wanted soft light, and Shamira really wasn't up and running with bags made for hot light yet. So I made, I don't know, a dozen chronocones out of foam core board and put 2Ks behind them with 216 diffusion, 2 layers, and grids I made and all kinds of stuff, and wrapped the set in soft light. It was the first time that I know of that anybody had really done that kind of thing, at least down where we were. And it went over well. The ladies, of course, loved it because it was a lot of soft light. And that kind of started a shift for me of realizing that you can do that kind of work and still get a nice look on camera. These days, the image you just showed is from King 5, a Tegna studio up in Seattle, and that was just some months ago. Talk about a lot of different areas in one small set, Burnie. That was nuts. But those are all KinoFlow celebs, and that's all LED. I must have had 60 fixtures up in there. Wow. And the tough part is all the white walls that you see, and they wanted control of that. And then, of course, somebody had the brilliant idea of putting a window in, looking out to the outside world. And you're from this part of the world, Burnie, so that's right across the street from Mariner Stadium. Okay. And so when you have a window in the studio, obviously we're running daylight anyway. The last image you showed of the gal, all the studios have gone to LED screens. And so there's still some rear projection, but it's almost all LED screens and then color changing RGB LEDs behind graphics. So rather than fight the daylight thing, everything's just gone to daylight since LEDs can. And because of the green factor of LEDs, a lot of stations and networks, especially new startups, but they're just tearing everything out and starting over with LEDs so they can go daylight. And I mean, I'm lit with Kino Selects right now, and you see a Select behind me in an Arri fixture. And these are what I'm working with all the time on sets now. And the process is I get a series of renderings that show me a color rendering of what it's going to look like, floor plans. I make a rough idea of what I think I would want in as far as fixtures and stuff, and then it kind of becomes a negotiation because it's getting better now. But over the past years, everybody'd say, well, we're going all LED, and then they find out, gosh, they're a little more expensive than we thought. And then they go down to the path that you and I have discussed. Well, then let's just buy the cheap ones. It's the same thing. And I say, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same
especially
thing.
No, it's not. And a 1x1 LED is not the same thing as a 4-foot wide wrap from a Kino fixture. So I have to go through this tug and push and pull and fight every time to try to get the gear that I want. And sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. And I have to work with whatever is either already there or they've deemed that that's the gear I'm getting, which happens more often than I'd like.
I think that's the way it was in Sacramento when we did that. I think they said, well, yeah, we gave them.
I asked for one thing, we get another.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I just have to do my best with that each time. It's a lot of, lighting for multi-camera in general, for anybody who doesn't do it, is you have their close-up, which they spend a lot of time on. But then these days, the whole look of news is to move faster, quicker, more angles, different angles. So they want people to look here, 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 here. And so hard light becomes a really dangerous idea because they're turning in so many directions that if they're turning in the wrong direction away from their hard key, you're really going to throw some ugly light on them. So it tends to be, as we call it, the circle of fire, but trying to still craft a look with that. And that's really the challenge of it because there's so many angles and shots now. And then directors change their mind and they get bored and producers get bored and they start thinking of new angles. And so it's just a constant push and pull. Sadly, I call it the great mediocrity because television news, only the highest level networks are really trying to make a great looking image. The rest of it is just go, 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 and give me as many possibilities as possible. If it looks close, it's fine.
Right.
And that's unfortunately.
Well, and that brings up a bigger point because I think that's sort of what, I guess, two things here. One is that is pretty endemic on the level which you and I intersect a lot, which is limited budget. We have to produce more video for less dollars. And so we're going to go this way, and we only have this much to spend, and that doesn't buy you really what you need to do it correctly, you know. And I think you and I as professionals have to come in with that and still solve that problem, even though the dollars aren't there or they're not doing it the way they should be doing it, you know. And
that's
I think
industry-wide at the moment.
Industry-wide, and it's not getting any better. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for that in myself.
No pun intended.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Bill. But, you know, the other side of that is instruments are getting so much more versatile. Instruments are getting, I think, in so many cases better. You know, it's really easy to see what those two behind you are doing, the Select and the L7.
Right.
But even going back to, say, the M18, you know, that stepped up in the middle of sort of my career. That just stepped up plug-in HMIs, you know, and it really changed
that became
the quality.
It became our go-to instrument on all those resort shoots because it was almost as punchy as a 2500. So we could bring it through Windows and make that whole gag work, and then bounce it off 4x boards and 8x boards and really get I mean, it's just
fill a
incredible.
room.
And easy. And the gear behind me, I mean, obviously I work with these two manufacturers a lot, Kino and Arri, and that's an L5 over my right shoulder, which is the little brother of the L7. And right now I've got it to a color, but obviously I can start to change these colors to any color in the rainbow. And the amazing thing about all these and the Kino Flow is the same now. They're all any color in the rainbow, any tungsten to daylight, all the way up to 10,000 Kelvin, which is a beautiful icy blue that I love to use when I'm shooting tungsten. And then also now that's any gel color. So you can pull up any Lee Roscoe color, and you have firmware upgrades on lights now. So you know, every time I go to either of these places, they say, we make computers that put light out now. It's a different game. So what's going to happen in the coming years is just going to be unbelievable. Everybody's operating these with their iPhones and iPads and dialing in things. And I don't know if you've seen Arri and Kino Flow both recently, strangely, put out a very similar video that were produced at totally different times. But it's kind of like, especially the Arri one's like a dance piece. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's remarkable. It's all sky panels. The set is a room of sky panels. And they have chase effects and color effects. It's unreal. They dropped some coin on it. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
If I get older, I'll put it on my Facebook page.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's on mine. You can share off of that. But it's
awesome.
It's just, and getting back to the networks and stuff, is that, you know, when the Soviet Union fell, I was asked to light a lot of sets all over all those satellite countries. And that's how I got to Romania and Georgia and Poland and all those for a lot of years. And really, they didn't know multi-camera news and talk shows like we do. That was brand new to them. So what we did is I had to teach while I was lighting, which is always a challenge when you're teaching people that don't speak English. And so it was a very slow process, but we were introducing Kino Flow and Arri and all these things. And they had, 5 and 10Ks for key lights on a news set from 150 feet away. And I came in with my approach, and they just went, we don't even know how to help you. We don't even understand what you're doing. So it was a real interesting arc for me, and I learned a lot of tricks and a lot of techniques and a lot of things that did and didn't work over those years. And that kind of set me on that whole page of my career that's just been lighting news sets and talk shows and stuff around the world for that kind of work. And again, there's no right or wrong approach. If it looks good and everybody's happy, it's the way it is. I have a job possibly coming up in India, and they don't want to see a light in the room, and it's 30 feet high. So obviously I'm not dropping any soft lights, on a set like that, because I can't get soft light from 30, 40 feet away. Right. So it's going to be a real challenge, and they've got to just know, like we've talked about so many times, the priorities and compromises. What are you willing to give up? You don't want to see the lights are going to be far away. Well, you're not going to get soft light. So you gave that up. So expect some shadows, and we'll try to do this and that. So it's always a game like that. And especially when producers and things don't understand light, they don't really care to. They just know what they want. And so that's our struggle is taking their desires and bringing it with new technology or whatever on time, on budget, give them the looks they want, and then walk away and hope it stays that way and everybody behaves and takes care of the set.
Yeah. Yeah. No, very well put. It absolutely is. We're challenged a lot, you know, and I like that. I like that. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's funny, Bill, because when I met you the first time, when we first started working together, you know, I was so hung up on a formula. I was so sort of registered in there. What is the right way to do this? You know, and and you taught me, and of course, you know, being on my own and being down here running a business, you know, now a lot of times I'll just go, hey, put the light over there and turn it on. I want to see what it does, you know, and
exactly.
I'm not afraid. I know where my time is. I know when I know when we have to roll. I know what we have to do. But the first thing my instincts now are like, do something edgy, do something that you don't know what it's going to be like. And I don't know how many times we have been on set where I turned on a light and you go, oh, that's great. I literally just plugged it in and turned it on. I hadn't set it. I hadn't touched it. And that happens all the time to a lighting guy, you know?
Yeah, you have to keep your eyes open for the happy accidents all the time. You know, and half of the reason, I just had a conversation this morning with Dave and we were talking about this, which we should get to, but it's half the reason that these booklets are so helpful for people is because the old adage of, you know, first you have to know the rules before you break them. Yeah. And so when you spend enough time, enough years knowing the rules and seeing what the rules do and don't do, then you can come in and go, you know what, let's just try this today. It'll probably look cool. And you know, you and I have always said we're chasing the pretty picture. So part of what's going on right now is a lot of people with iPhones and iPads are shooting or DSLRs, and they have really no understanding of lighting whatsoever. So hopefully booklets like this can allow people to at least go, I get the basics now. Now I understand why you do that. Now I can choose to do that or not. And it's at least a conscious decision and not just random moving lights around hoping for good stuff to happen.
Right. And, you know, we are going to talk about your booklet. I just want everybody to hold on just a second. I got to talk to Nick. Nick, I didn't hear that. What was that? Okay, great. But that booklet, I don't know if most people know this, but if you ever bought a ARRI kit in the last 20 years, Bill is the guy who wrote the little lighting book that came with your ARRI kit. And him and ARRI have stepped up, and now they've produced another book, the one he just showed us. Tell us about that, Bill.
Well, actually, Nick, do you have the original one, the little white covered one? If you do, it'd be great to show.
The white one, the little original covered. Yeah, I think he's going to put it. Okay, he's going to put it up, I believe.
Yeah, and that started from a gentleman named Charlie Davidson, and who was the head of ARRI Lighting in North America then, and John Gresh, who currently is that. And they were getting phone calls in New York of people saying, "Okay, I bought a kit. What do I do? I'm on set right now. What do I do?" And they were panicking, going, "Oh my God, you're actually on a shoot, and you're asking us." So they asked, I had produced booklets like this, which came from Dean Collins, and I had copied his booklets, did my own for workshops. And then they said, can you make one of these for, you know, the kids that say, okay, if you know nothing, here's the basics and here's some examples. I threw this together. My kids were in it. Friends were in it. We had no budget. I just threw it together. Yeah, I figured maybe 6 months. And then it turned into five languages. And 15 years later, I kept saying to ARRI, guys, we have got to get this out of black and white and update this thing. It's archaic. There's CRT screens in front of people. So last April, we wrapped this one, the new one, and it's now into 4 or 5 languages. And it's finally kind of what I always imagined it should be. The first half's all technical information on the different kinds of lights and LEDs and what they are and HMIs, et cetera. And then the second half is kind of what you can do with these type of lights. And because LED is now playing, you know, as a kit, believe it or not, now the color palette's wide open. And so I played a lot with color. I played a lot with kind of edgy, like you were talking about, edgy, more dramatic looks, things I thought actually younger kids who were getting into the business would go, actually, that's really cool. How do you do that? And then the site that I followed up with is called Video Lighting Techniques. And that site it's free to sign up. We had chatted about this, but on there is behind the scenes videos of how all these images were done. So they're 2 minutes each, and people can just watch what was going on in the studio and then look at the picture and see, as we've been doing for years, the evolution, the key light only, key fill, backlight, change the background, and they can see all the effects on camera. And so I'm transitioning from flying around the stupid planet for 30 years to a site like you are, and trying to get the information out on a site so I can stop hopping on planes and flying to faraway places just to talk for 6 hours.
I know you, though. You'll be back on the plane.
Monday morning.
You love the adventure, Bill, just like I do. You love the adventure.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship.
I gotcha. I hear you.
I love being there. It's just the flying part sucks now.
Yeah, right. No, that's it. That's it. Bill, I think we're going to take another break here. Hold on just a minute. Stand by, and we'll be right back with Burnie's Applebox. Hi, this is Burnie, owner of Burnie's Grip and Lighting, and I'm also the manager here at Dot Lot Stages. Dot Lot Stages I've been shooting at for over the last 10 years. We have 2 stages. We have a 20 by 23 foot full body green screen room. We also have what's behind me, which is a 30 by 40 foot white cyc stage. It's lit by 6 2K space lights. All of the lighting for the green screen and white cyc comes pre-lit. Now, the price for the stage is $1,000 for 11 hours, and that comes with a stage manager and 600 amps of power. Now, how I'm going to get the word out, and this is for my friends who've used Burnie's Grip and Lighting before and my Facebook friends, is that if you rent the stage and you rent my 3-ton stage package, which includes a full tungsten package with chimera, all the distribution, all of the grip and stands, and everything else you need, I will give you the stage at half price. So what that means is you'll get the stage and the grip and lighting package for $1,100. That's only $100 more than the stage would have cost itself. It's a great deal, and I'm doing this because I want to keep my stage working and keep it busy. So give me a call at 714-609-3545. That's 714-609-3545. I'll see you on set. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Burnie's Applebox. All right, we're here with my great friend, Bill Holshevnikoff, talking about the business, talking about lighting, talking about what the life's like. So, Bill, you were just going over that with Ari and what you've done. How long, tell me about your education part, though. How long have you been actually into education? I guess it was a natural spring from Dean Collins then for you to get into teaching, but for a long time, no one did what you did.
No, it was about 92. I think I did my first workshops, and I really went with my bag of nickels to Ari and well, originally Lowell and Ari and Shamira, I think, and Tiffin, and said, look, if you throw some money at me and give me your gear, I'll run around the country and teach like a madman. And I did that for many years and created a really good relationship. Eventually, KinoFlow came into the mix quickly. KinoFlow came into the mix quickly into my world because I was using them so much on set, and it's kind of just been, I don't know, 20 plus years of relationships with these people it's harder to drag the gear around now, but I'm using their gear on set. Most days I'm working and still teaching the basic principles, and then, green screen, working on location with windows and resorts and stuff like that we did together, and studio lighting, feature film lighting, documentary stuff, all those kind of different kinds of work. And the game has changed so much with the kind of lights that they're producing now that there's just so much misinformation on LEDs right now. So I'm also spent some time at the beginning of my classes just kind of letting everybody know what the reality of the industry is right now, and what to trust and what to not trust and what to look out for if you're going to invest in them, et cetera. And then I just go and show them how I'm using them, which is, like any other instrument, it's one more tool in our box. But the ability, the flexibility, and the abilities that these give are, far outweigh anything you and I have ever worked with. So it's really changing right now. So it went from articles I used to write for a magazine called Video Systems. I called up the editor one day back in, I don't know, late 80s, early 1990, and said, "Hey, my name is Bill. I was thinking about doing a monthly article on lighting." He said, "Okay, great. When can you have the first one in?" I said,
"You're hired
next week." Yeah, and I did a monthly article for 10 straight years, and that opened up a lot of doors to have people asking me to speak, and that forced me to put a show together, a presentation that I could take on the road, and then that's just kind of one thing led to the other. And so these days it's mostly per hire. I don't do tours right now anymore. I get hired by corporations and the government and networks, et cetera, fly around, teach for a day or two, either hands-on and or classroom style. And then again, trying to get off the road and starting to produce more stuff online so people can be getting this kind of information globally. And that's why it was so important to me that the ARRI booklet went into so many languages. I mean, just having it in Mandarin alone in China.
That's huge.
Apparently I have a big following in China after 20 years, and everybody's used to seeing me in my workshops. I'm going back in June, back to Shanghai and a couple other cities, and to Seoul, Korea, teaching again. And just like here, there's a lot of young people coming in. They don't know lighting. They don't know the basics. And so you go from basics to more advanced stuff. Like you said, by the end of the class, your brain is buzzing, and you finally
really
have
connected a lot of dots.
Yeah, a foundation to, like we used to talk about, it's black magic to a lot of people, and taking the black magic away and pulling the curtain back and go, okay, look, I put this light here for this reason because it did that. Here it is without it. Here it is with it. You can see the difference. And when you do that long enough for people, they start going, oh, I see.
Yeah.
And they see the A camera shot, et cetera. And so even on a feature film that, like the one I just shot in October, I'm still teaching my crew as we go. And it's either on how these things operate and little tricks I've learned with them. I mean, we were shooting on a set. It's a set 60 feet long, dug into the ground and built over it. It's a set of an abandoned gold mine where the most good part of this film takes place.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was a very difficult location. And we were shooting on one day, and my AC, a young guy named Ferguson, a great guy, and he said, do you realize the light level you've been shooting at for the last couple of days? I said, I don't know, 284 split. That's, I'm just staying with that f-stop. And he said, yeah, you're between 10 and 14 foot candles. And I thought, and we're anamorphic, as you can see. And I'm thinking 10 and 14 foot candles. I mean, we couldn't have made a picture with that, Burnie, years ago.
Oh,
and so I'm using the Kinos and the Aries at LED, and I'm having like 4%, 7%, 10%, and getting the looks that you're seeing on screen right now with very little light. And so that really has been a big game changer for us as well, in that you can now take these lights on location. We didn't have numerous Jennies. We didn't, we weren't throwing a lot of power around because these things take 1 and 2 amps each. And I can really get a look with the hard lights from ARRI and the soft lights that they make as well. And then all the soft wrap LED lights that Kino puts out. I was just creating an entire film's look with LEDs. I shot most of the film with LEDs at an incredibly low light level. So it was a great challenge, and just also a good lesson that you and I so many times have finished a job and we can't believe what we just pulled off, kind of thing.
Yeah. No. And that's incredible at that low light level, getting that. And I know you've always had your ear close to the ground as far as what's coming. So have I. I've been lucky enough to live down here and springboarding off of some of your relationships. You introduced me to, people at ARRI, Kino Flow, Chimera. We had our ear pretty close to the ground on what's coming up. And we heard about LEDs. I remember the time John Gresh had us up there in Burbank, and he was talking about, hey, we're going into LEDs. And I think he was talking about like the L7 at the time. I don't think anybody really got the game change we were in for on all sorts of levels, not just lighting, but cameras and distribution and everything else that was out there. And, it's really, you and I, 10 years ago, when we were working together and doing our thing, we didn't see any of this coming, I would say. Not the whole package, not the whole package.
I had no idea. I had no idea you could do high speed on an iPhone. Yeah, I had no idea. A lot of this would happen. I mean, like any new technology, these things are not cheap. The better lights that do all this that they do are not going to be cheap. But they have a company that stands behind them. You get the service. You get a quality product that the color of the light matches what you expect from daylight sources and tungsten sources.
Yes.
And that's a big deal to people who are serious about what they do.
Yeah,
if you're an up and coming kid, you just want to spend $500 and get a light. You don't care. But you probably can't even see the green yet. But our eyes pick up the green in a lot of LEDs so instantly, and I just can't handle it. So these guys have worked really hard to produce instruments that are, motion picture worthy, and they're being used on sets and motion pictures and commercials all over the world now, and they're really making a killing on it. It's fantastic. But yeah, you and I, we had a lot of dinner talks and never saw the change with DSLRs, with drones, with LED lighting, with all that. I had no idea. It's fun. It's exciting. And I'm getting into VR now too. And that VR is mind bending.
Yeah. VR I have my own opinions about VR. You know what I mean? As an actual tool. It's here. It's very valid. It's not a fad or anything like that. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And, but no, we've talked about that lighting for it. It's a different mindset. Yet I think it can be every bit as dramatic as what we do with standard camera setup.
Yeah, I think in narrative they're going to find that short films are going to be the platform, because I get motion sickness after 10 minutes, and a lot of people do. And what they're finding with narrative is, you might be looking out a window and somebody kills somebody behind you on set, and you missed it, and you missed the story. And so they're trying to figure out how to, with sound cues, trying to get people to turn around before events happen in VR films, et cetera. It's going to be great for education.
Yep.
It's great for psychological training. People's fear of heights, a lot of fears, all that kind of stuff. Game world's going to go crazy with it, but I'll be shocked if it reaches full-length feature films anytime soon.
It will not displace what we are doing now. It will be in addition to. And I come back to it for a very simple reason in my mind. We got these two eyeballs sticking right in front of us. We are our neck is a tripod head, if you will. And that's the way we are going to assimilate information visually.
But I think just phones in general have pulled people away from personal communication. And I'm just fearing that, it's going to be like the movie Brazil years ago, where people just stay in their little pods all day and experience the world through VR, and they never go outside and they never move, and everybody looks like Jabba the Hutt, and they just sit with goggles on and eat Fritos and watch VR for the rest of their life.
God, you make it sound so good, Bill. I don't know.
I know. Well, it honestly scares me. It's huge for the military. They're going to be using it a ton for training. All that. So I do think but man, I don't know if you've worked on one. It is a bitch. It's such hard work, because you finish this in front of you and then you turn around and go, oh, that's right. We have all the other areas I have to worry about. It's really hard work.
Well,
but
that's to me
why
it's really about the environment. It's really half of lighting for VR is set deck, or where are you at? That is what it is.
Finding a great location.
Because I started walking around and going, like we always do, because we're nerds, walking around after I got introduced to VR and going, what's lighting this right now? Where am I at right now and being lit? You look into a glass door or something, you see your reflection, you look at the light on you and you go, it doesn't look bad. It's not like horrible lighting, but you have to reproduce that natural place in order to get the look you want. And another thing is we are, we're lighting Nazis. You know what I mean? The really great ones are not afraid to let it go dark. The really great ones are not afraid to let the light play. and that you don't have to, inference, that suspense they use with it. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can play it. There's a lot of ways you can play it,
It's going to be an interesting next 5 years.
Oh, yes, it will, Bill. Yes, it will. Absolutely. Tell me what's next on your agenda.
I've been working on a wine documentary. Well, Monday I leave to teach back east in Baltimore and DC for the government, teaching those people and trying to get them. If you've ever worked with the government, getting them all to talk to one another is a big problem. So I'm trying to get them to have maybe a central.
I actually thought it was trying to get them to do something. I thought trying to get them to do something. Oh, okay.
Yeah. First you get them to talk, then they talk about maybe doing something. So I'm trying to get them to have a central port of education for film video for guys all around the globe. We'll see how that goes. And then I've been working on a wine documentary that's a passion project, but I think it's getting closer to launch. I think I sent some pictures of that too. And we're just, it's the first one, it's called The Journey of Wine. The first one's California. So it'll be Washington and Oregon and Germany and et cetera.
Oh, awesome.
And how wine intertwines with the fabric of our lives, how a rock and roll star had a memory from long ago of when he had a meeting before a rock show with a bottle of wine. He remembers the wine and how it affected that deal that went down, or how, let's just say, a politician had a certain dinner with a bottle of wine or a meeting, how an artist had a bottle of wine next to him when they were producing the brushstrokes on a famous painting, etc. So we've been already shooting interviews and shooting wine shots like you just saw, the wine port,
awesome.
etc. Here in Northern California, and doing a little in Central. We were in LA at one of the oldest wineries in downtown Los Angeles. And really, I mean, I love everything about the wine industry, so it's an easy project for me to jump into. And other than that, the feature that I shot is going to be finishing post soon, as far as just a basic first cut. And then we get to start going to play. And one of the reasons I did that film is the director's from Industrial Light and Magic. His name's Dean Yurka, and he did all the pirate movies, the Star Wars movies.
Oh, awesome.
And he's going to add a ton of effects to our film. And I get to see, that was the previous film, but I get to sit with him and watch him do his magic to the kind of footage that I gave him. And, shooting in anamorphic is different as well. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great education for me.
Great opportunity. What a great opportunity.
Hoping to have an A version and a B version of the films that we can look at and say, okay, here's just what I shot raw, and now here's the finished segment, and you can see the difference and explain what we did and why and stuff. And that's half the reason I took the gig. Is he's such a sweetheart of a guy. For one thing, he started in England in effects with Terry Gilliam, and then came over to the States and got a job at ILM, and he's been there for 20 years, and he's just a master at it. It's ridiculous how fast and simple it comes to him. But, he's done his hours like we've done ours. And so it'll be fun for me to see the film transform into original raw footage to the kind of thing that, hopefully will end up on a movie screen somewhere, and we can go see it and get entertained. And I'll, in my brain, have a great way of translating that into a workshop and showing people how you shoot for effects and what worked and what didn't and what we faked and etc. Should be fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Bill. Bill, it's over already. So, dude, I really appreciate you so much, my friend, coming and taking an hour out and doing it. And you dressed up the background so nice. I know you were working on it all day.
I did it special for you.
But
it's an
Bill,
old photo backdrop.
You know what's really nice is we've actually had some time to talk this time. I mean, how often are we running around? We catch 5 minutes here and there, and that's about it.
You don't call me anymore. You're too busy.
I will now. I will now that you have work, Bill.
the megastar gaffer. Your shows look great, Burnie. Your commercials are great. Your shows look great. You look like you're doing great. I'm really happy to see it.
That's great. How's your comedy career doing too? Is that still on? Is Shecky still alive?
I miss my sidekick.
Yeah, we've got to get it back on the road. We got to get back on the road.
Some of the gaffers I'm working with don't appreciate getting thrown under the bus for a laugh as much as you did. So,
I'll take it every day. If that's what I got to do to work with you, Bill, I'll be under the bus all day long. Don't even worry about it.
I gotta find another gig that we can work on just so we can laugh for 12 hours.
I think you're right. Thank you, Bill. I really appreciate you coming. Everybody, give us your website again, real quick.
It's videolightingtechniques.com. And then on Facebook is really where videolightingtechniques.com. And on Facebook is really where, and that site's free to sign up with all that info on it. And Facebook really is where I post daily stuff. And I don't make political comments. I don't post personal pictures of where I'm eating dinner. It's just work stuff. So there's just 5-7 years of backlog of production stills and behind the scenes shots and articles and interviews that are all on Facebook that I've just made available that way. And like you, got several thousand followers around the globe that are chiming in on that stuff all the time. So that's kind of a fun port for me to constantly be putting information out, even if I'm, sitting waiting for talent like we do so many times, and grab a snapshot and post it just to keep the wheels turning on the whole educational thing.
Awesome. Well, they can get on it if they can spell Holshevnikoff. So thank you, Bill.
It'll be their test.
Yeah, that's a test. Thank you, Bill. It was great talking to you, and I will talk to you very soon. Everybody out there, peace out. Thanks for stopping by Burnie's Applebox, and we'll see you next Friday at 2 o'clock.